Hello nerds, my name is Leslie. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative. Today is where I talk about my week of reading, everything I read, what I'm still working on, and then what I plan to read next. I read a ton of short stories, and if you've missed one of the last videos where I talked about my short story journey, what I'm doing is I am reading a different short story every morning. I get up, make my first cup of coffee, and then I read a short story to get my day started. I started this in December and it just really caught on well with me, especially if, let's say, I am reading a collection and all of the short stories are by the same author. I feel that doing one per day helps me disconnect from one story before moving into the other, so that if I maybe didn't like the one the day before, I'm not going to carry that dislike over into the next one, if that makes any kind of sense. So the short stories I have read this week, well, a few of them have come from the Complete Stories by Flannery O'Connor. A few of my friends are hosting Flannery O January, and that is a challenge, and it's 3 different challenges. The 3 hosts each has a challenge. Christy is doing the letters written by Flannery O'Connor, Victoria is doing short stories, and Noah is doing The Violent Bear It Away, which is her other novel. I read Wise Blood last year, really loved it. I have the novel. I don't know that I'll have time to get to it in the month of January, but who's to say what will happen? So far out of this one, I have read The Geranium and The Barber. I did not get The Geranium, not one bit. No clue what the point of that one was. However, The Barber I really loved. In addition to my 2 Flannery stories, I did read a couple of short stories out of Stephen King's Night Shift. I read Strawberry Spring and The Ledge, and this is part of a read-along that is hosted by Jake over at The Bookish Drummer. All of the information for these read-alongs I'm going to talk about in this video today will be in the description box down below if you're interested in hopping in. Strawberry Spring I really enjoyed. I would have loved to have a full-length novel for that one. And The Ledge, King chose wisely in making that one a short story, because the premise of that story is a very quick one with I'm not gonna tell you. You guys really have to read that one for yourself. So I actually read that one this morning and the adrenaline is still kind of pumping over that. And then my final, what I would consider a short story, it's an essay actually from Joan Didion's NonFiction works. I've got her collection, We Tell Ourselves Stories in Order to Live. This is a read-along hosted by Kate over at the Literary Apothecary, 1 essay per month. And this month's essay is called Where the Kissing Never Stops, and it's about Joan Baez and an Institute for Nonviolence Learning that she opened. And of course, the people in the area did not like having the school there, and they were having a meeting about it. And while I'm not quite sure what the point of it was, or if she just thought it was something of interest that people would like to read about, just an aspect of Joan Baez because she was a famous folk singer. Even though I'm not sure what the purpose of the piece was, Joan Didion's writing was amazing with it. It was just like a stream that just flowed gently by, and you just are carried by the words. Like, I had no interest in Joan Baez and her singing career. The School for Nonviolence had no interest in it whatsoever, but the way that it was written was beautiful. So I enjoyed reading it. That's so weird. I cared nothing for the topic, but I loved the way it was written. I don't even know, guys. It makes no sense to me either. Also, under the short story heading, I'm going to include a mini tale, which is an online kind of cosmic serial. It's about Opaline, a little mouseling who is a time traveler. And I really loved the first episode. I believe I'm going to do 1 episode a week. And in this one, we meet Opaline. We're not sure what's going on, but he's very sad. He wants to forget. Guys, he has a companion. It is a dragon. The dragon is a god, and she's so tiny. So Opaline is a mouseling. So he's little, and then the way that she is described is like she's about as big as a fingernail. I absolutely loved it. I was not expecting anything, had 0 expectations going in. Really love the writing. I really love the teasing we got of things that happened in Opaline's past. I want to know more about him. He apparently was not always a mouse man. He was just a mouse. So I want to know what happened. How did he get chosen to become this mouse man? Why does he blip from planet to planet, different galaxies, going through time? What is happening? I need to know, and I cannot wait to continue this journey. You know what? There's one more short story. I also read The Triumph by Clarice Lispector, and that is all of the short stories that I read since I updated you last. If you want to know more about each of the short stories and what I thought about them, check out my Instagram. I will have that in the description box down below. Every morning after I read the short story, I post a little picture of it, and then I'll put a couple of sentences reviewing the story. If I can't come up with a way to do that that doesn't have any spoilers, sometimes I'll just put a quote, or I'll just put how the story made me feel. So that's where you can get all the details on the short stories. But let's talk about what I read. First up, I did finish Idol's Fall by Mike Shell. This is the third book in the Iconoclast series. I will be part of a live show with Andrew's Wizardly Reads on January 12th or 14th. Next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is all I know. I'm not sure what day it is. It's either the 12th or the 14th. I think it's the 14th. I will put that on the screen for you. But we're going to have a live stream about this trilogy along with the author Mike Shell himself. So stay tuned for that if you would like to hear more about it. Of course, we will start off with a non-spoiler section for those of you who are interested perhaps in reading it, but want to hear a little more first. And then we will wrap it up with some spoilers for all of you that did read this series with us. Now, as far as my thoughts for the final book, the second book in the series, Sin Eater, is my favorite, and the way it ended, I was really excited to get into this one. However, it followed the exact same format of the previous two novels. I was looking for something different this time. All three of these books have the exact same format. There's a quest, the fellowship is formed, we spend almost the entire book forming the fellowship and getting to the actual place where the quest is going to take place. Then we have about 100 pages of the quest, and then it's over. I was hoping for something different, a different format, or even if it started off the same way, maybe something interrupted it. That didn't happen, and unfortunately, I think that caused me to check out for a large portion of this book. It took me a long time to get through this one. The first two I read in a matter of days, and this one just took a long time. Next up, I read Juneji Ito's Frankenstein. Now, the first story in it, the vast majority of this one is his retelling of Frankenstein. It was amazing. It is my favorite thing, my favorite story by Juneji Ito to date. Now granted, I've only read Uzumaki and Censor, and then of course I read the rest of the stories that were in Frankenstein, which I really enjoyed. Really. This is a great collection. If you're someone who has thought about getting into Juneji Ito and you're not sure if he is for you, I would highly recommend trying this collection out. But oh my goodness, he did an amazing job portraying the anguish and the loneliness of Frankenstein's monster. I loved his take. I love how he chose to tell the story. Just couldn't have been any better in my opinion. And then the book that I finished in 2 sittings. Let's talk about In the Hills Above the Grist Mill by Calvin Ellis. Now, Calvin Ellis was a guest on Dark Between Pages YouTube channel. He was in a panel one day, and my friend Sharon Dwyer saw that, and she comes to me and she's like, Leslie, we need to read this book. Get it on your radar. And so a buddy read plan was formed. That happened this month, and I flew through it. I wasn't even 10% of the way in, and I was stalking the author on social media wanting to know, is there another one in the works? Because when you look this book up, you're going to see in parentheses next to the title, Paisley Mott Mystery Number 1. So I wanted to know, was there going to be a Paisley Mott 2? He said absolutely. He was currently working on it, and it was going to be a much darker tale. Oh my goodness, guys. Let me tell you about this book. It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I woke up to a message today from Sharon that she was absolutely loving it as well. It's just written so well. If you have read Ungodly by Braden Riddick or The Goners by Elle Stevenson, then you would love this book. I am going to do a review for this one, so be looking for that very soon, hopefully in the next week or so. I also finished the 3rd Richard Bachman book, which is called Roadwork. I started out really loving Roadwork, and then it just kind of... There was a whole part about a meeting with another character that made 0 sense to me. This character added nothing to the story. In my opinion, it could have been cut completely and you would have never known it. It just didn't have any value. It didn't really show anything, in my opinion. It just started out so strong. I felt for the guy. He was very upset. His house, his business, everything was being moved because of eminent domain. The city wanted to put a road through where he lived and worked, and he was just against it. Mainly because I believe that house is where they lived when their son was born. That house is where they lived when he died because he had an inoperable brain tumor. And I think the man was just unwilling to part with those memories. And I really thought Stephen King was going to go in a different direction than what he did. But he just lost me. He lost me in this one, and I've since moved on to The Running Man. And now this one, I am about a quarter of the way through it already. I am enjoying it. I'm really loving it, and I'm just hopeful that that continues and it doesn't change. But I don't see how that could happen with the premise of this story. Like, I feel this is going to be a high energy, kind of like the movie Crank with, what's his name? Jason Statham. And the other book that I started last night is The Girl in the Tower by Katherine Arden, which is book 2 in the Winternight trilogy. One of my friends, Stephen Aryan, he's an author who's in my Discord, he was telling me how much he loved this series, loved this book. And I was like, you know what? That's going to be the next book that I start. I was originally going to start The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie, and I couldn't get a hold of the audiobook. I love to immersion read Joe Abercrombie's books. I love Stephen Pacey. Stephen Pacey is who gave me the patience to learn to consume audiobooks, and I can't read these books without him. I've never had to wait on one from my library. They have so many copies. For this one, they have 4 copies in use, and I'm the 8th person in line. So they have a lot of copies. Hopefully, I will get my hands on that soon, but I just couldn't do it. I had to end the series like I started it, and that's immersion reading. So this one is again on the list for what may be next on deck. We'll just have to see what happens with the library. But in the meantime, I have delved back into the world of Morozko and Vasya and Solovey, and I am in love. I flew through the first 50 pages last night. I am absolutely in love. This one is about a character that I met in the first book. I really liked in the first book, but I didn't get much of. He was kind of sent off to do something else. I think he's going to be a main character in this one. I'm not sure. He's been very present so far in the first 50 pages. I am excited. This author, she wrote her prologue. I feel like if there had been several months between the first book and this one, the prologue would have instantly transported me right back into this world. I just love her writing. I cannot wait to read more of this one after I get done filming. So let's get this finished, shall we? Well, actually, before I get into The Girl in the Tower, I will be digging into Deeply Personal. Guys, this is going to be hilarious. It finally came in the mail yesterday. I have been waiting on it. If you look at the cover, like, that just screams Archer to me. I love that show. I absolutely cannot wait to read this. But it's a collection of personal ads, as you can see. And this was written and drawn by an illustrator named Alexis. I'm going to put her last name on the screen because I am afraid that I will butcher it. Some of you may already know of Alexis. She creates animated horror stories over on the YouTube channel Nightwaves. I will link that in the description box down below. But the publisher for this, Spooky House Press, sent me a copy to read and review because they know I love comics and manga, and I am just so excited. It almost has like a Far Side feel to it where you just have the one comic and then you have the caption underneath, but they're personal ads. Guys, I can see no way this will go wrong. Once I finish The Girl in the Tower, if The Wisdom of Crowds audiobook is still not available at my library, I'm going to go with one of 2 books. So another book that I'm going to buddy read with Sharon is The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst. I'm going to check with her and see if she is ready to read this one next. If she's not, then I will go with my patron pick of the month, which is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So many of you guys said so many wonderful things about this book on my TBR video that I cannot wait to read this little novella. So one of these 2 will be next. We'll have to wait and see what happens with my library and with Sharon. I hope you've had a wonderful first week of 2022. We are going to have a great year together. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have had a wonderful start to your day. Hope the rest of your day is amazing, as well as your weekend. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.